Hi everyone. First of all, thank you so much for, just chiming in and connecting and joining here. I am actually really nervous. This is my first time ever. I was talking to Tilly earlier. This is my first time ever at Daisy, so, you know, bear with me a little bit. And yeah, actually, before I tell you a little bit about myself, let me actually share my screen. Okay. So a couple of things before I start this. This will be very informal. I am far from formal. If you have like, a drink, coffee, I know Jillian is from San Diego. I know it's like what 8 a.m. in the morning. It's 8 a.m. here too. I have my coffee with me. If you want to grab like, something to get you through this workshop, feel free to do that. And another thing, as Tilly mentioned, the chat is always open. So if you want to just shoot me a question, feel free to do that. And if I like miss it by any chance, I would love for Tilly to just chime in and ask me the question. And yeah, at the end of this, there is what right now? I can't see. There's like 40 people here. Feel free to like share your emails. Feel free to, connect with me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a DM on Instagram and I'll be happy to connect with you and, we can chat furthermore. And last thing, I look at Oibek right here, like turning on his camera, all ready to go. If you want to turn on your cameras, that'll make my heart really warm. So yeah, but with that said, hi everybody. My name is Elaine. As Tilly mentioned, I am or have been a product designer for a while now. I started off actually as an industrial designer. If you are curious, again, if you want to chime in and ask about industrial design, I know a couple of people are interested in that physical side of designs. You can also ask me questions about it. I took 4 years of school in industrial design, so that was really fun. And then I continued taking graphic design. So I got my first job at a startup doing all marketing graphic design. I was one in 100 employees. So that was really fun. And then afterwards, I joined Apple as a visual designer. And that was really fun too. I really learned a lot. Obviously, designing for a bigger company is so much different compared to a smaller company. So, there's the pros and cons and whatnot. And then from there, I was a visual designer for a while, but I thought that, hey, I like designing websites, and I had a project one day from the company I was working for to redesign their whole e-commerce website. So I was like, shit, that's kind of cool. So I just went ahead and took my master's degree. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. But, through that, I was like, I need to look for a gig. I need to look for something to just get ahead in the game. Hi, Brittany. I need something to just get ahead in the game and, continue because when you're in, a university or in master's degree, I felt like I needed an extra push to gain experience. So that's what I did. And part of it is what I guess coming into that and looking for a job while doing my master's, I was a little bit struggling in terms of the portfolio aspect. Like I had case studies from my school, but coming and translating that into a website and a portfolio really was the struggle for me. If you saw my like Instagram reel, I did apply for 100 to 200 jobs and got ghosted. It's like blah. But through that, I was very grateful to, learn and tweak my portfolio a little bit more. And, through trial and error, thankfully right now, where I'm actually actively looking for jobs, it's been like 2-3 weeks. I just graduated. So like I'm now actively looking for jobs. I have callbacks of people actually wanting to, companies wanting to check out my portfolio, and I have interviews lined up. So really grateful for that. And yeah, I'm here to, as like, as someone who struggled and now have like overcome that, I want to share that with you. And yeah, with that said, caveats, right? This is based of a lot of my experience and a couple of, question and answers from my recruiter friends who gave me extra pointers. But yeah, and I also did a lot of research. But like I said, this is a lot of it based on my experience. So yes, feel free to like stop me or pause me for any questions or whatnot. But yeah, continuing on, this is my old portfolio. I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh my gosh, it's so fugly. I understand that. I know. But wait, I transitioned. Let's go back a little bit, right? Oops. I transitioned from graphic design into visual design. And my mind was like, okay, we needed something simple and like clean and all of that. But it really doesn't work with product design because, in product design, we really value that thinking process. And I didn't have that here. And that was like my first biggest red flag. I didn't have, like, if people would see my old portfolio, they'd be like, what the heck is she? Why is there only like before afters? And so that was my number one biggest red flag. And the second one was, well, I'll get into that later. But yeah, this is my old portfolio with shit. Okay, so when I did my old portfolio, it was like, what, a year ago? And I was applying to jobs and I got a lot of rejections. I did not want to screenshot them and post them here because, frankly, it was a lot. And I had one company, like I applied for them at 9 a.m. in the morning, and at 11 a.m. they're like, hi, Lane, unfortunately, you're not like the right fit for. So it was horrible. It was horrible. It sucked to suck. And but again, I was really grateful to understand this very one valuable lesson that then I could use to further improve my portfolio. The first one is, have you ever wondered how long it takes for someone to look at your portfolio? Have you ever, like, if you were a hiring manager right now and you had 20 participants or 20 candidates, have you ever wondered how many minutes it takes them to get through that 20 and have their break? Apparently, according to research, it takes them up to 3 minutes, and 80% of the recruiters say that it just takes them 3 minutes to pass through your portfolio. And if they like it, they're going to pass it on to a hiring manager. If they don't, then I'm sorry, right? So that's number one. And number two, when it gets passed on to a hiring manager, research says only 11% spend more than 10 minutes going through portfolios. What I mean is that the rest, like 89%, just breeze through it and just, if they don't like it, then they don't like it. And the third valuable lesson I got is 8 out of 10, on a scale of 8 out of 10, is how important they think showing process is. And I didn't do that at all in my old portfolio, which that was the number one reason why it sucked. So knowing that they only spend this much time to breeze through your portfolio, to my portfolio, what can I do to make that up to 3 minutes worth? There could be a range of things that I could do, but this is kind of what I did. Okay. Let me know also if I'm like going too fast or you need like extra clarification, because we're starting this journey. So I worked on my case study. I told you before that, my case study was really bad. It was shit. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to curse, but it was actually poo-poo. So I focused on my case study. I had my ready to go case studies. I did projects at school, so I had up to 4 at this point. But I did not know how to translate that into a working website. I had slides. I had 60 pages of slides, but I did not know how to translate that into, one scrollable website. And that was the problem. So I did. I revamped my case studies. And these are the points that I'm going to emphasize about what drove my story, what can I condense, what, who, when, results, and think ahead. Also, if you want me to share this slides, just let me know. Oops. Okay. So going to lesson number 1 that I learned was when a recruiter comes in and checks out your portfolio, I am getting distracted because I am seeing 2 chats. Okay, sorry. Where was I? Okay, when a hiring manager comes in and looks at your portfolio and focusing on case studies, they want to see if your case study, what it is about, who you worked with, who you worked for, and how long the duration is. The reason is because companies tend to hire people who have worked in kind of the same sector. I just got a rejection letter from this one company that I thought went well, but I did not have experience in machine learning or AI. And I mean, fair game, right? I went through the last round of the interview, but I just did not have that. And unfortunately, in the pool of talents, if another candidate is as good as me, but they have that extra skill set that is needed for that company, which focuses on AI and machine learning, I mean, if I were them, I would go with that person, right? So going back to this, let's say I'm a hiring manager and I'm hiring for a real estate company, right? And I see this person, oh, wait, she has experience in the real estate world. That will definitely be an extra bonus point to have. So how do we do that? How do we gauge their 3 minutes, right? Well, one way to do that is to just, give what the piece is about. What am I talking about? Who did I work with? If I worked solo, then it shows that, oh, I did the project from 0 to 1. I did the project end to end. But if I said, oh, I worked with another 10 other designers, then it shows your collaborative effort in terms of finishing that project. So there's a lot of extra things that the hiring manager or the recruiter can discern from your case study, and also adds extra detail, right? In this example, this is a school project, by the way. I just wrote an overview and, it was a simple one-liner. Hopefully people can understand what my project is somewhat about, So that is point number 1. What time is it? Okay, we're at a good time. Oops. Okay, and then major lesson number 1, part 2. And I think this is one of the most important ones. So like I said, I had case studies. I had, 60 slides, but they're all in text. They're more like journaling form. And that's really good. And it shows that you've done a shit ton of work, right? But it really doesn't, I wouldn't go in and screenshot all my slides and put it on my website because people's attention spans are really bad, especially mine. So I tried to picture myself in that, again, in that hiring managers or in that recruiter's perspective where they're like running out of time and they want to look at other portfolios and want to have their chicken sandwich, you know. Um, and so what I did was, as best as I could, add visuals to my case studies, play with the fonts, you know, the font sizes and all that, and distill the information. This is really important because this took me the longest, by the way, to look at my case studies and to look at what was very important, what was less important, and what was like not important at all. Elaine, you can just throw that away. And in this example, I did user interview summaries. Like it took a lot in me to like, how do I put it? Like I talked to a lot of people. I talked to 10 interviewers. I talked to 10 people and I wanted to show that. Like I wanted to show that I did the work. I spent, you know, 2 weeks talking to people and, you know, moving forward with my case study. But unfortunately, I couldn't show all of that. And so what I did was I just highlighted which ones were important, which ones that, you know, again, drove the story, and put it in put in like these little 5 bubbles that hopefully conveys as strong of an information as I would pasting this. I hope that makes sense. So that's like the second major lesson. I don't know why I put major lesson number 1. Major lesson number 1, part 3, key story drivers. So backtracking a little bit, every single project, correct me if I'm wrong, but every single project you will have mishaps. There will be things that don't work. There will be things that don't go your way. There will be things that you didn't know could happen, but did happen. In my case study right here, I happened to talk to one of my friends who's a developer. This was a school project, by the way. So, and I talked to him. I was like, hey, really excited, right? This is a project. I'm like so excited to show it to you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Elaine, I don't think this works. So I was like, well, shit, right? I was like working so hard on this project. It was just a lunch hour time with him. And he was just, you know, burning my project to the ground. And he was saying how this like wireframes won't work and their flows won't work. So I was like, well, poop. I needed to change some things. And that's like one of an example where things did go my way. I know it's a school project again, but this is really, I guess what I'm saying is those like little mishaps and those little, I wish, or those little like, Elaine, this won't work ever. And how I fixed it or how I like detoured it really stands out to people. Things definitely won't like, I guess coming into like, especially this space, right? You will have a lot of, you know, talks with developers and talks with like other people and talks with stakeholders. And how you like fix it, how you go through that is what people want to see. So I guess I named it key story drivers. What made your portfolio piece stand out? What was unique? In this case, I talked to my developer friend and it didn't work. So that was unique. In other cases, right, you can say, oh, I talked to, or not talk to, like, I tried this. I tried putting a button here, but it didn't work. So how did I detour that? How did I make that so it could work better? How did I improve that? And I would say that's like one of the more important things to put on your portfolio. And then obviously they want to see the finished product. I know earlier I said it was an 8 out of 10 in terms of process, but they want to see problem, solution, and outcome. The outcome is what ties everything together, right? If you have a problem, you have a solution, you don't have the outcome. Recruiters, hiring managers are like, why are they even making this? So I would say, if, as best as you can, to show videos, photos, not too much, things that will wow them. In this case, I just screen shared. I recorded my screens on Figma and then posted them on Vimeo and then uploaded them here. So I think this is pretty straightforward. Let's see. Okay, so now we have our case studies all taken down. I had all my points and all that. But going back again, the first thing they will see is your homepage. And it's a little bit tricky because, it's also really subjective, to be very honest. But what I did was I added something that was like attention grabbing. I just drew an illustration that hopefully would, I know if some of you will say, oh my gosh, Elaine, this is ugly, but hey, I tried. I added an attention grabbing element to my portfolio and just tried to, make it just add that extra pop. Other than that, I added a little like thing about me, a little blurb about me, and then extra superpowers. So my idea was I added this like fairy, and then I was like, oh, my extra superpowers, a little bit cheesy, but it worked. Okay. I'm seeing. Oh, Jillian, thank you. Thank you for that very supportive comment. She says it's cute. But okay, continuing on. Another extra thing that I did was, I guess I added, I used to write during COVID, and I thought that was really therapeutic. So I posted that, or I tied that into my portfolio. I also added, what else can I do rather than just becoming a product designer? And it is why I was doing that is so that I could prove to them that I was also human, and this can be anything, right? You could be like, oh, I like collecting plants. I like drinking matcha. And that just shows the hiring managers that, okay, you are a person of interest. Oops. Okay. And I don't know if my workshop is going too fast or too slow. This is my first time. So we are almost reaching the end of it, which is really fun. And the last bit of it was to practice and to prepare for my portfolio interview. Now that I have all my case studies revamped, I have, my website that hopefully looks cool and is attention grabbing. The last piece of the puzzle is to make sure that I was prepared to talk. And this is one of the things that I had to improve over the years. And I guess I'm just going to go through this. Going back to my case studies, there was like 5 bubbles. I don't want to scroll back because of all the transitions, but there was 5 bubbles, and the last one was to think ahead. And what I did was I made sure when I went through and shared my screen to the hiring manager, I would be able to show that as an aid of visual while I was talking. So I had those little bubbles. I was like, these are the problems, and I would read all the bubbles out. But if I were to say, oh yeah, then I made like mid 5 screens, but I didn't have that on there, then why would I say it? That would just add confusion to the whole process. So matching and practicing what you're going to say and your whole story is one of the most important things. I keep saying one of those important things. I guess what I'm saying is everything I'm putting here I thought was very important. Um, and let's talk about storytelling a little bit. In the world of storytelling, and I just pasted this from Google. I thought this was really good for my visual aid, but you have an enticing incident, you have like a problem, you have something that needs solving, right? You have that, and then you research, and then you reach the climax, which is like, how might we fix it? How might we do that? And then from there, you start by, ideation, you start brainstorming and all that, and you finally find a resolution. And I really like this form of storytelling because, it's like a 3-step part where you entice the audience, you entice that like hiring manager, you say to them, hey, like this is the problem, blah, 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 make it a story, right? What I learned was, and I learned through rejection. What I learned was I one day was talking to this hiring manager and I was like, yeah, these are the lo-fi screens. These are hi-fi screens. This is the problem right here. This is like, how might we? And I just like read it out as if like he couldn't read, right? They didn't like it, obviously, and I got rejected. So I was talking to one of my like recruiter friends and they were like, yeah, just make it a story, make it a conversation. And I thought, that's such a good idea. And from there, I like learned how to translate my case studies into more of a story. Let me see. Aw, I love the chats. Let me actually go back a little bit because I really want to make myself a little bit more clear. Okay. So in this case, right, in this case study, I'd be like, the reason why I wanted to choose this project was because I am an international student myself and I want to pitch in and help. So there's that little like extra, okay, like I want to do this because, and make that a story instead of, yeah, I chose this project. This is a project to like help study abroad students, blah, blah, blah. And that adds an extra layer of, okay, like she's like actually, she wants to tell me this and in a storytelling way. Think of it as gossip. I heard someone say that and I thought it was really funny because, when you gossip or when I gossip, it's like, do you know? Oh my gosh, I'm spilling the tea, like that type of vibe. And yeah, so that's kind of into preparing into a portfolio review. So because we have our storytelling, mindset all ready to go, and you have, by the way, before I did a lot of practice and I actually wrote like notes before going into a portfolio interview or portfolio presentation, and that really helps me. And instead of like, for me, instead of writing like a whole sentence or whole paragraph, I would write what was important, what I needed to carry across, what I needed them to know. And that really helps me because the ums and the, thens and whatnot, they will come naturally. Okay, let me pause. Question, what format or tool are you using for sharing or presenting portfolio? Okay, good question. I used to do slides, but that really wore me out. I felt like I had a website and I wanted to show my website. So I stopped using slides. I know a lot of my friends use like Google Slides and prepare, prepare whole slides for that, but I just went ahead and showed my website. So, okay. And then the last tips that I would love to share is first of all, be mindful of time. Going back to our thing again, that recruiters have like less than 3 minutes. They do run out of time. They have time. Make sure it's worthwhile. Usually, what I do is around 10 minutes per case study, and then that is through practice. I would have my phone and stopwatch just like there, and I would just go over and over again. And with that said, 10 minutes isn't really a long time. Um, it might seem a long time to some people, but when you have a really exciting portfolio and a really complex portfolio, it has to be digestible in that amount of time. So this is a little bit of a challenge, but how can you explain it to them as if they like know nothing about it? But you like want to show them and you want to prove to them, hey, like I did this. So that's another one. I'm getting distracted again. No, okay. For this presentation, I use Canva. Don't hate on me. This is cool. Okay. um, and then where was I? Okay, mindful of time, complexity, and then mood or vibe. Okay, this is really cool because I think your mood and your vibe. Picture recruiters again, right? It's a long ass day on a Friday at 3 p.m. And for some reason, I scheduled it for Friday, 3 p.m. It's literally 2 hours from there, like close the laptop moment, right? How can I like be that just like, I guess, person to be excited at a Friday at 3 p.m.? That would really help. Like, just set the mood, set the vibe, talk to them, just be excited. I know it's a really like cliche tip, but sometimes for me, I get too nervous to be excited. And that just kind of ruins the mood. And then with being excited, what is that? Be confident as well. I struggled with this a lot personally. I, being a designer, I would have a lot of imposter syndrome, and I would have a lot of like, yeah, like I did it, but and I would use a lot of like, I guess, maybe, sure, be confident in what you're saying, own it. You made this project. It's a really cool ass project. Hiring managers want to see that. They, especially in companies today, they want a project champion where they're like, like for me, like owning the project and excelling in what they do. So as best as you can. I know it's nerve-wracking. I know it's like sometimes very pits get sweaty, but yeah, just be happy, be excited, and be confident. And the last two things are like very cliches: prepare and practice. I want to make sure that this is not overlooked. I know you've worked on your portfolio day and night, and I've been in that situation too. I'm also still working on my portfolio as we speak, but preparing for a presentation while you have looked at your portfolio multiple times really is different when you're like talking to the person. For me, at least for me, sometimes I like blur out. Sometimes I'm like, wait, did I put that? Wait, did I put my lo-fi screens? But yeah, just prepare what you want to say. And sorry. When it comes to like question and answers is when you would find preparing very useful because believe it or not, hiring managers, every single one that I've talked to, they would ask different questions. And some questions are like, oh my gosh, I've never thought of that. And the more you prepare for it, the more you look over it, the more you're like, oh, the more you know what you put on the table is when you can find out the answers. Funny story, I worked on this like case study day and night, and then again, right, went to a hiring manager, and then I did my whole interview, portfolio, and all that. And they asked me a really simple question. They were like, can you please clarify on why you chose green? I couldn't answer. I was so sucked into the whole process that I didn't even know why I chose the color green. I had to make the answer on the spot. I was like, I think green is really tying into, the whole project. And it was bad. It was so bad. But that was a while ago. But that is when I realized that, oh shit, these things like you can't really sleep on. Oops. Yeah, by the way, the last one is just practice, 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 practice. And yeah, this is the new and hopefully improved portfolio I have. I know you've seen it. The first one is, an enticing and an interesting illustration. And then coming into the case studies, what I did was just put grids, and then they would click on this, and then it would come into the case study. Let me read the chat first. Okay. Sorry, following up with the question above, I'm curious to know if hiring managers have a preference in portfolio format. So there have been, and for me, it's actually like next week, I'm interviewing with someone who requires or who would prefer a slideshow, but that has only happened to me once. And yeah, I think that adds another layer of preparation. But again, that only happened to me once. And let's see. Hi, Lane, is there any point you would show all the nitty gritty of a case study, like all the information? I once applied for this one company, and then they asked if I had extra detail. So I showed them the slideshow, but usually if I like me showing them my portfolio and all that, they would want me to like scroll up, and they would ask for clarification, extra clarification on that. So I hope that answers the question. Sorry, my voice is gone. Okay. Hi, Lane, would you recommend showing fake case studies as in your portfolio form? Yes, I would recommend showing fake case studies. If you don't have like experience in the real world yet, showing fake case studies, or I did. I showed 1, 2, 3. I have 3 that was from school and just exercises, and I pasted it and I presented. They want to know more of how you develop that case study, and not like, yes, they do want to know like your collaboration skills or developer handover skills, but if you don't have it at the moment, it is totally fine. They want to know how you think. I was wondering if personal projects good to have. Yes, okay. Yeah, let me know if you need extra clarification on that. But I do have 1, 2 real work case studies, just because it's a little bit tricky for real world case studies, because A, you have to password your case study, and B, a lot of the assets aren't like available to you, versus school stuff. It's like ready to go, unless you don't want to show it to the world. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah, I think that's the end of it. Did you have any other questions? You can check out my portfolio. It's elainelumino.com. And let's see, questions. Where do you recommend to get mockups? Okay, so I would recommend downloading from Figma community. There's a shit ton of cool mockups. And there's a lot of websites, but I just use Figma. Sometimes if I'm extra, I want to use, Photoshop or whatnot, but I think me and Figma, that like emoji where it's like handshake, that's me and Figma. So, okay, so in having only like personal projects, how would job applications go? I assume that applying to like junior roles would be best, since there's no real experienced job, but job descriptions are confusing. Okay, that's a really good question. And I also once asked that to one of my recruiter friends. In terms of your resume, as far as your resume goes, put projects. You don't have a lot of experience, put projects on top. And then you can also put your project link. You right now these days you just share out your PDF, or not PDF, your e-resume to hiring managers, and they can click around and view your portfolio. So that's one way to do it. And another way is, it's okay. It's okay if you don't have real experiences. I know there's this like endless loop of you can't get a job because you don't have experience. You can't get experience because you can't get a job. I know that. I have been through that. But showcasing your projects and strengthening your portfolio is a very important aspect. And trust me, if you do that, when you do that, people are, you're going to get callbacks. I'm losing my voice. It's only night, 8:44 a.m. here. Let's see, what website or platform did you use? I coded it myself, but I used Squarespace. I would recommend Squarespace. I used Wix once, and I just preferred Squarespace. There's another option, which is Webflow. I haven't tried it, but I've heard so many good things about it, like in terms of interactivity, in terms of just how you can present and transitions and all that. So if you want to try Webflow, let me know how it goes. I'm actually curious. Okay. And then, hi, Lane. Hi. You mentioned that our project should match what the company does. So does it mean my projects have to always match what they do? No, but let's say, I guess to clarify on that, let's say I applied for, I have experience in real estate. I used to work for a real estate smart home company. And I put that on my resume. I put that on my portfolio. And then I applied for another real estate company. To make sure, or to like strengthen that first communication with the hiring manager, it's kind of like a superpower to like, for me, I guess, so that the hiring manager knows, oh, okay, like Elaine's worked in real estate before. So she knows the ropes, she knows what what section she's in, But versus like earlier, I mentioned for this one company I did for AI and for machine learning, I didn't have that. But they went and talked to me instead. But like, I didn't show that. And they were like, oh, you have experience in this? And I'm like, no, but I will. So that was kind of a foul right there. I hope that answers the question. And then what is the right number of case studies in your first portfolio? This varies. This varies a lot because I've heard if you look for an internship position, one or two that's really strong would do. If you're looking for a full-time position, they usually ask for like 3 to 5. But that's like off the record. That's like weird too, because usually I end up only showing 1 to 2 portfolios for for a full-time job. So, and then do I need to have all my projects from scratch to finish? You do not. I know a couple of, when you work in a company, and usually if it's like a bigger company, sometimes you focus on one thing more than the other. And that shows that you're not doing from scratch to finish. But what's more important is, let's say I started off making wire flows or wireframes onto my final mid or hi-fi frames. What was my thinking process through that? And that is what you want to show on your portfolio more than, the scratch to finish process. That is what you want to show, and all the mishaps that we talked about earlier, and presenting that to the hiring manager is more important. And then, this is a lot to worry about. No, you're cool. You're fine. how did you find world projects to work on? These are the two real world projects were actually from work. So it is one of them is passworded. So that's as far as I could go for real world projects. And then love these long questions. Tilly, how are you on time?
We should be okay for one or two more questions.
Okay, let me just breeze through this. Okay, one more. Are there any projects you think we best have in portfolio projects? It's really up to you in terms of what you think your personal projects would be. In terms of my personal project, we had a prompt from school, and then I had to work through that prompt. One of them was like, think of a problem you experience in their daily life that you want to fix. So that was one of the prompts, you know, and you can go from there. One app I made, but you know. Adina, if you want to DM me on Instagram, I can answer your question there. And then, oh, you're back. Okay, what flow is her? Oh, okay. What flow? What flow? Okay, thanks, Ibex. That's really cool. And Audrey, is there a chance you can make? Yes, I can. I can definitely. Oh my gosh, I can definitely make a more comprehensive workshop to show you my longer case studies and how I like distilled it. I think that's a really cool workshop topic. And yeah, I think this is the last question, I guess. Vivek was like, oh, how long did you take to code your portfolio? Portfolio is actually a school, like a final requirement for my school project. They were like, you need to have it on code, blah, blah, blah. So it was around 3 weeks to a month. We did take like 2 courses in coding. So that's kind of why I still have that like skill set or knowledge. But yeah, thank you so much for joining my workshop. It's really informal. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. Let me know if you want me to share this to your email or how, I guess, email would be good.
Yeah, I think that there were some calls to share the presentation. Perhaps you would be able to share it in the Daisy chat on the website. I think there's an option to share files there.
Oh, okay. That would be amazing.
And thanks also so much for like sharing your contacts so that people can get in touch via Instagram or email. And yes, we should definitely ensure that Elaine has another workshop. And it's wicked that someone's actually already requested what that might be on. Thank you,
So
Elaine, for such a brilliant presentation. It was super clear and everyone brought such great questions. So thank you guys for asking and Elaine for answering so well. We do need to sign off now. There is another workshop coming up by Tom, who is a regular, and I believe that is going to be on making music from everyday sounds. So if anyone is free now and wants to join that one. But otherwise, again, thank you, Elaine. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on Daisy again soon. See you. Bye.
Thank you, Tilly. Thanks, everyone.